Well, a very, very pleasant good evening to all our viewers, our friends. Welcome to the second edition of Full Disclosure here on Tobago Updates in Tobago. And wherever you are around the world and you view Tobago Updates, we welcome you. I am your host for this evening, Secretary Terence Baines, Secretary of Community Development, Youth Development and Sport. And we plan to have a beautiful program as per usual. Last week it was a very passionate one. They do say that you never get a second chance to make a first time impression. And we have had various reviews from the program last week. Some positive, some not so positive, and so on. But we are going to forge ahead because the philosophy of the program, of course, is to bring some information to you to let you know what's happening with us from the executive level, both from the governance place and also from the political place. So it will mean that there will be some issues that would be in the space that we may need to respond to. And of course, but the lion's share of the program will be about talking about what is happening with us as an executive, some of the things that are happening in the divisions, some of our projections and such like. Well, I am very, very honored to be joined tonight by two venerable gentlemen. In fact, we can call the show tonight a conversation with the assistant secretaries. To my immediate right is a very interesting man. I say it all the time at the risk of sounding monotonous that he's a man that has colorful expressions. This is Mr. Wayne Wasp Clark, who is the Assistant Secretary in the Division of Community Development, Youth and Sport. He has the direct responsibility of Youth and Sport, and we are very happy to have him here tonight. Mr. Clark, good night, sir.
Good night, Tobago. Good night, Trinidad, the worldwide listening audience. Yes. Good night, everyone.
You ready for us to enter into some meaningful conversations, man? I guess the smile means yes. And of course, on the far right is the president of the Greybeard Association in the executive, and also the assistant secretary in the division of public settlements, public utilities
and rural development.
Mr. Niall George. And Niall is the area representative for Plymouth Blackrock, and Mr. Clark, of course, is the representative for Lambo Lowlands. I have it right? Lambo Lowlands. We are our intention. How you doing, Mr. Beardman? How you doing?
Well, I'm happy to be alive.
Yes.
Feeling blessed, just saying good night to the listening folks out there. Saying good night to Tobago and everyone else listening on the outside.
Right. Well, I'm guys, we want to have a free conversation, and when I say free, we kind of talk from the heart and so on. There are some things that we will, especially in the first segment of the program, some of the things that may be of political importance. And I want to jump off with, you would remember, and everybody remembered last week, Secretary Pollard made a particular acid statement and so on. And I think it was maybe yesterday or so that statement was refuted and so on. But this is just by way of information. That's all it is, by way of information. I want those that are viewing to know that in the month of April, I believe it was April 28th. It was a Thursday. It was the first of two meetings that were held at the Ravenels Resort when the matter that Mr. Pollard raised last week, we were called to a meeting chaired by the chairman of the PDP and the vice chairman. And in that room, in addition to the chairman and vice chairman, of course, was myself, Mr. Pollard, a former political leader from another party, a prominent economist here in Tobago, a senior executive, insurance executive was there. Of course, the chief secretary was present. There were about 10 persons in the room when that matter was rehashed and so on. So, and there was a second meeting on this Sunday, which may have been, I think, the 1st of May. So, in the event that anybody wants to verify what Mr. Pollard was raising, you can speak to me. I can give you the numbers for everybody that was present in the meeting, or you can ask the chairman or the vice chairman of the party whether that thing transpired or not, right? So we leave that there. And that is just by way of information. So also in this space, I know that one of the things that we have been doing, and I want you guys to weigh in on this, is we have been trying our best to get away from the animosity that exists, that we used to always be there, what appears to be there, with ministers in Trinidad, in national parliament, and the treatment meted out to secretaries and so on. Generally, how they treat the executive and so on. We've seen, and it seems as if people are kind of wary of the kind of animosities that seems to always be in the space, as if people prefer that there will be some peaceful coexistence, if you want to call it that, and getting along, going about the business of governance and so on. I raise that because I know Assistant Secretary Clark, you have made a tremendous amount of inroads in your work and building the relationship, building the bridges and so on with Minister Kojo in her doing, as she presides over the Ministry of Sport and so on. I know it, there's the evidence is there, and you have said that publicly and so on. But just recently there was an interview on Tobago Channel 5, I believe it was, and there is also, it appeared in print media as well. I mean that the minister came out guns firing at the executive and so on, and which that includes you. So the question I wanted to ask Assistant Secretary is, do you think that the ground that you have covered in your mind, that has been legitimate work, or you think it was cosmetic, it was just, it was just a political necessity? Do you think, what's your thoughts on that? When you listen, I don't know if you listened to the interview, if you saw anything and so on, but she came out blazing, which is what, this is how she is, in terms of her passion for politics. That's what I mean. What's your thoughts?
Well, I tend to look at things a little different, and while I wasn't privileged, I didn't get to see the clipping, but I continue to see from where I stand. I have developed a very good working relationship with the minister, and unless she shows me different, I'm going to continue to work to try to improve it, because my duty is to try to push the Tobago agenda forward.
Okay.
So, for me, it's all peace until you declare war.
Okay. So well, some may say, based on the interview, that war was declared on the entire assembly.
Well,
which includes
I take a different view.
Okay.
Because, if I draw guns, they don't go down. So
right.
I wait. I give the minister the benefit of the doubt. I have confidence that we are working and making progress, because there were a lot of good things that came out of the relationship.
Right.
So I tend to look at the positive, and I'm going to continue to work to try to get more good things coming out, because the better of a relationship the minister and I has, I think the better place Tobago will be.
Well, I agree. I can't disagree with that. I want to throw this one at you, Assistant Secretary George, because we know that in the Tobago governance landscape, the issues like public utilities falls under the THA in Tobago, right? And I think it was sometime a few weeks ago.
Well, public utilities actually doesn't fall under
Yeah.
us. That's a 7th schedule item.
Okay.
So it does not fall directly under the THA.
Okay.
But I think I could preempt you to the issue
Right,
at
carry on.
hand, which
Yes.
would be me being invited to
Yes.
Abusa opening ceremony on Friday and then being uninvited by Saturday. And I was actually looking forward to the opportunity to have a unscheduled meeting with the Minister of Public Utilities, but that opportunity was taken away from me. To add to insult to injury, not even the area representatives were invited to these functions, because I mean, even though the ministry has the purview or the responsibility for developing these plans, these things are happening on the island of Tobago. And as I said in my Tobago Updates interview, when we had this situation reversed with a PNM-led THA and a People's Partnership government, you would hear Chief Secretary London shouting disrespect
to
the top of his voice.
I remember.
And the least I would expect is the courtesy of being invited or being put in the know of what is taking place on the island. I mean, this is the Tobago House of Assembly, and this is Tobago. The least we deserve is the respect of being brought up to speed with what is taking place.
Right. But you know, I wonder, and Mr. Clark, you could weigh into if it is, we know it has been there politically. We have even seen bits of it, even when you have the same regime, you have PNM and Tobago and PNM and Trinidad. We have seen some stuff happen that we felt from the outside looking in that that's not how you're supposed to treat a Tobago official. We've seen that happen. But I think outside of politics, right? Outside of politics, it seems to me, even in the realm of sport, Mr. Clark, I mean, I'm going to come to the netball situation in a bit, but before that, it seems to me that the Tobagonian athlete, the Tobagonian, in fact, in any discipline, as a matter of fact, that we are always treated as an afterthought. I remember I was listening to Mr. George Leacock on one of his shows, and he was making the point that they call out everybody and they say, and one from Tobago. That was a part of the conversation. But has there been any improvement in your view, Mr. Clark? Let's talk about sport and so on. How sports men and women are treated from Tobago whether they go for trials or competing in Trinidad, just the general treatment.
Basically, my view on that is that first we gotta understand who we are and where we're at. And in many instances, as much as at times the Tobago sportsman, or I should say the Tobagonian, might say they feel disrespected, in many ways they never demanded their respect.
Okay.
And, you know, it leaves a bitter taste sometimes, but sometimes you have to be wrestling here with your own people to get together. You know, to be that one driving force, and not having bits and segments all over the place with everybody seemingly to have their own agenda.
Okay.
You know, I think if we could do that, the respect that we deserve, it sort of will become automatic. Because picture yourself as the person sitting on the chair in Trinidad, and you have different segments of people from Tobago, not together, everybody coming with something different, everybody seemingly coming with their own agenda. I don't think it's some place that demands any respect, and it's some way that you tend to respect somebody more when they have, they come to you in one way, one agenda, that one voice thing. I think in many instances, I'm not downplaying the fact that yes, disrespect takes place at times, but I'm saying in many instances of that disrespect, we have to take some of the blame.
Okay. So in essence, what you're saying is, if there was a united front,
You always make for a better case.
You get better. What are your thoughts, Nayan?
Well, in terms of relationships, I believe that if we foster good relationships, we'll get better results. Not only for Tobago, but for Trinidad and Tobago as a nation. But based on the trends that have occurred, I think we need to unite to stand for what Tobago deserves. We need to put the politics aside,
Yes.
and we need to treat this as Tobagonians seeking what we deserve. And as Secretary Clark said, if we come together for this purpose, then I believe the sky is the limit.
You know, I was looking at an interview 2 days ago, and Nelson Mandela's grandson was being interviewed, and he said this. It stayed with me. He said, if you want to go fast, you go alone, but if you want to go far, you go together. And I thought that was a profound statement, and it is true. I mean, there's even a biblical example, although it was negative, that God had to take some action. But you do remember, if you are a Bible reader, those of you viewing and so on, that a group of people who had the same language and the same agenda decided they will build a tower and go up and meet God, because they find God not coming down. They find they're praying and God not responding, and they decide that they will build a tower and go up and reach God. And the scripture records that these men start building this thing. They start building this edifice, going up and so on, because everybody was in solidarity with the project. Building the thing in such a way that God says, see this, if I ain't stop this thing, these people and them, anything they put their hand to do, they will accomplish. And I think that is, and I agree. I think part of our demise is our disjointedness and so on. I mean, I have been, even in the gospel fraternity, I have been recording music and producing music and doing gospel shows and so on. And I still have had a struggle that the way we in Tobago treat people that come to us is the exact opposite to how we are treated in Trinidad. And I wonder if we have an unrealistic expectation, in the sense that, are we two separate, are we two different peoples? You understand? Do we expect a particular type of behavior from our brothers and sisters in Trinidad that is not necessarily something that is ingrained? You know what I mean by that? At Tobagonian, you come and pick you up by the airport, come and carry you for lunch, come and carry you at the beach, and all these kind of things. Is there a distinct difference in terms of our socialization, or is it just that people don't care? What are your thoughts?
Well, all right, go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, in my experience, most human beings expect what they give. Does it always happen that way? No,
Right.
it does not.
Right.
We are a Twin Island Republic. We have vast cultural differences. And one of my problems is that we usually get painted with one brush. Many of the problems that arise in Trinidad are totally separate and apart from what happened in Tobago. But the lawmakers make laws with a broad brush to
Right.
cover all aspects. And I think that's why Robinson crafted the THA Act in a different light. Basically, the ethnicities in Trinidad are various. Way less in Tobago. We're pretty much one people, and as Lord Nelson said, all our we is one
Right,
family.
right.
So to me, it's incorrect. It's just wrong to paint the whole picture with one brush. It doesn't cater to the nuances, to the differences in culture that happens between the both islands.
Right.
One republic, two islands.
Right.
We have vast cultural differences.
Yeah. So that's why I asked the question.
I must say also that another angle that you have to factor into it is tradition at times is very hard to break. Change is very hard. And sometimes you see, let me just draw a reference, one day I had some children, I usually used to coach at the preschools and things. And I decided to bring them together to do a sports meet. It's now known as the Tobago Early Childhood Games. And you're doing something, but you always have to keep your eyes open for the lessons that come out of it to get better. And we just decided to give first, second, and third a medal. And it was chaos. Parents telling you the next day, I had to go buy sports and games, I had to go buy McFarlane and buy a medal for my child because they're ball whole day going home.
Right.
And it brings you around to the thought now that, okay, so we're not going to use that approach again. We're going to give, because they are children, we're going to give everybody a medal for participation. And there and then you realize that the results mattered. Once they were appreciated, they were okay with that. The results is well, we had a board put in scores. The first get 3 points, second 2, third 1. And the only people who was focusing on the board was the adults. So, the results was of more meaning to the adults. And the children were just okay with being appreciated. In many instances, it sort of mirrors the relationship with Trinidad and Tobago. Tobago sort of being the child in this case. Sort of like you just keep crying out just to be appreciated. And you seemingly have a parent at times who really just do business.
Okay. That's an interesting point. Now, as you make that point now, I wanted to zero in on the recent issue, the recent matter with the netballers, the Tobago netballers and so on, the coach and the manager, is it? And what transpired with him. I know you had your own, what should I call that? Your own activity, put it that way. You understand? You made your own statement, leading the charge and so on. What can you share about that whole experience?
I think the biggest disappointment for me with that was that there are Tobagonians on that committee, or whatever you choose to call it, that up to today we haven't heard a word from them. And to me, that is the disappointment. Because you were selected and sent to represent us. And if something happened that, is out of favor with us, you should be the one to come and say, well, this is how it is. This is not how, it's not how you see it.
Right.
And for me, that's the sour point. Because until we get that kind of disclosure, you just have to, it could be something emotional, and that's why I took the position I did. I was prepared to come to Scarborough last week, Friday, alone, and just do what I have to do, because I'm a believer that if I think this is wrong, I do business if it's me alone have to stand up. I will. And that's how I approach, So I think that the sour point for me with that, because nothing that you hear coming out of the Netball Association, to me, makes any sense. It doesn't justify the decision that was made. And in the absence of clarity where, from our standpoint, because it's easy when you have two fractions, two islands, for one to feel, that they weren't dealt with fair. But you have representative from that island on the board or the committee or whatever it is. And if they continue to remain silent, it seems like you select them to represent you to be silent, to leave you in the dark. And that's my sour point with the whole thing.
I get you. And I understand that. And then, of course, we go even deeper with the Commonwealth Games. I mean, you went on a journey, took out some of the nicest of pictures and so on, and we were all excited about the Commonwealth Games, and we're hearing some noises now that our excitement, our bubble might be poof.
Well, it's not might. I think it's a decision that was already made. And pretty much sort of this one might be a little different, because until we have, you know, proper communication, proper information as to why.
Right.
We just hear that there was a shift. Nobody really says why.
Okay. And
So-
you've not had any conversation with the Minister of Sport on this matter yet? Or-
In bits and pieces, but usually we usually sit and have conversations, be it on the phone or in person, and that wasn't able to take place yet because of the busyness of, you know, different schedules and things. But yes, it is a sour point that regardless, and the longer it goes on for without any clarity, sometimes the explanation becomes useless.
Right. I get you.
You know, because, you know, we were all hyped
Yes.
that from day one,
Yes.
since the game was awarded to Trinidad and Tobago, that was in July, I think, that you know that you heard that the track,
Yes.
the beach volleyball and the triathlon will be held in Tobago. So, you know, we were all excited about
Right,
that. The
right,
Commonwealth Committee made 2 visits.
Yes.
And, you know, you thought it was a done deal.
Right.
And to wake up one day without any information and just hear that it was taken
Yeah.
away from you, then it leaves you to
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, that's, and I'm not one to jump to conclusion. I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I wait and, you know, ask for clarity and, you know, because it's not like me to go and make wild statements, but, you know,
But
until we get...
isn't that, I mean, and I'm saying that, and Niall, you could jump in there, doesn't that represent a kind of modus operandi? Meaning that there are some decisions that are made that impact Tobago, and Tobago doesn't have any say at all. Not even, you can't even register some kind of protest properly. You understand? Because the decisions are final and you find out after the finality.
Well, Pastor Vince, the reality is the final decision lays with cabinet, whether we like it or not. And most times we don't like it, but unless the autonomy issue is
Right.
dealt with
Right.
in a serious manner, these are the problems that Tobagonians, whether it be any administration that the Tobago House of Assembly would be faced with. We heard the calls of disrespect from the past regime, and you will have to hear them again from us because they make the decisions, and whether it bothers us or not, the decisions are already made. We have to live with them.
Right.
And interestingly, again, there is someone from Tobago on that committee. So hopefully in the near future, we could hear from them.
Right. Well, I guess we
know.
got to push that button to
Yeah.
because if you're in the committee, you're supposed to be a voice. I am assuming you're supposed to be a voice.
So this is why I said that yes, I'm feeling bad about it. I'm feeling disappointed about it, but
Right.
I still await the clarity or,
Right,
you know,
right,
what
right.
was the thought process behind this sudden change. Because, you know, just as I just tell you about the children with the medal and crying,
Yeah.
it's come like Tobago had a candy
Right.
and you just take it away. So the person who lose the candy, they're gonna cry.
They're gonna cry.
So until we get some kind of,
Do you know that candy factory?
even that, until you could get where that candy had pepper, so I couldn't leave you with it. It's an explanation.
I got you.
Then I guess that's how we feel.
Right. But let me ask another question. I am of the view that despite all this that has happened, that Tobagonians, whether in various vocations, whether it be sport, whether it be music, whether it be academia, it seems to me that although we feel sometimes we're running from behind, that we still end up being excellent at what we do.
Well, you see, you put a man up against a wall, put 2 men for that matter, and you apply pressure. One likely to buckle and one will get better. And in this case, you know, the man that get better in most instances are the one who faced with all the challenges and, you know, whatever you choose to call it, the shortcomings. And it just happens to be Tobago in this case, you know, Bertie Sinclair, Tobago coach, the first coach to take us to a World Cup. Probably might have make it 2 out of 2, but, you know, we all know what transpired on that occasion.
Right.
You know, and that's why I keep saying, in the absence of information, in the absence of clarity, you leave me to form my own conclusion.
Right.
So Bertil Sinclair was one, and then it come and happen again within netball in this instance. And you know, Shadow Singer Calypso, what wrong with me? So it's like if the Tobago and keep asking itself, if it's wrong to not only dream but to achieve those dreams. You know, so because I could tell you that, you know, I coach football at all levels, and with the happening of this netball fiasco, young men, young women ask me, you know, on a daily basis, what is Sensei fighting up? Look what it does do it. Look what it does treat it.
Yeah.
You know, so it sort of come now like it create a mental block. And you ask, in many instances, a man go say, boy, you see me fighting up with that again, me ain't going down there because they don't like me.
Right.
You just hear that every day.
Right.
Some still persevere and they fail, they succeed. But I'm saying in general, you know, you have a few will persevere still, but in general, you have two islands, and in every instance, or in most cases, one keep feeling that they wasn't dealt with fear.
Yeah. And you know, this is not even endemic to us here in Trinidad and Tobago. I lived in Antigua, Barbuda for 2.5 years back in the late 90s and so on. Barbuda is a very small, it's the smaller of the two islands. Barbuda has about 1,200 people. Very large land space nonetheless. Amazing beaches and so on. They have their own culture and they have the same cries, like us here, St. Kitts Nevis. Although Nevis is a little more advanced in terms of how they, I was encouraged when I went to Nevis because the Nevisians, they have a kind of elevated, independent thinking. You know, they say they don't even talk about no mainland. You know, we might say mainland Trinidad, or they don't talk about no mainland. They say Nevis, this is the mainland here. And they carry about their life and that kind of thing. And I think the thing for me is that I find that persons who really have raw talent and abilities and drive, some manage to push through that and to excel. You understand? And while in large part a lot of persons don't really they kind of fall by the wayside, and that is unfortunate. And when we see what Tobagoans have been able to accomplish in all walks of life, one tries to imagine what it would be like if we only come on par. Let us say, sometimes people say, if that happened, then you might even get out, your men might become lethargic and that kind of thing. You understand? Yeah, that side of the conversation. But I think it is an important conversation for us to have, and we have to continue to push to be treated equally. And I like the point that you made, Mr. Clark, about this solidarity, because it seems to me that when we band together, we get more done. I want to move the conversation a little bit further and talk about you guys as assistant secretaries and so on. Starting with you, Mr. George, and how you navigate that, how you feel about that, especially being assigned a specific area for you to take care of and so on. Your thoughts?
Well, there's a very good relationship between myself and my secretary, Ian Pollard, in the first instance. So I am charged with the portfolio of public utilities and rural development. Unfortunately, the public utility department that I met had one coordinator and one BOE. Okay. So it is being built out properly.
Is that like private utilities?
More like private utilities. It is currently being built out.
Yes.
We also inherited the much vaunted rural development, which we had to do some restructuring based on the lack of performance by the past rural development unit. And by and large, I am supported 100% in decisions being made. I also have a very good relationship with our administrator, so it's pretty much smooth on that part. There are challenges in getting some of the the work done. I mean, we met a division that was pretty much broken in terms of the mentality of the staff. When we got in, we started engaging in certain activities to try to build the morale of the staff,
Yes.
who are by and large very willing to get the job done, you know, and as long as you are willing to work towards the goals of the people of Tobago, I am more than willing to work with you. So by and large, it's been going very well. One of our major challenges is funding, and that's a major challenge across the entirety of Tobago. The public utilities unit, when we got in, we started keeping public utilities meetings where all the stakeholders in the public utilities were brought together. And from these meetings, we have had more organizations. You know, we have presented an opportunity for WASA and TNTEC to meet more regularly. All the players are brought to one table where we could discuss plans and plan in general, so not step on each other's toes. We have a thing that would happen in the space where one person will do this thing and the next 2 weeks another comes.
Because I'm now going to ask you how the relationship going between WASA and Secretary James and his people at that. I wonder if Secretary James watching. Yes.
Well,
because that has been a perennial problem.
Well, we even had conversations with Secretary James pertaining to the way forward with some of the issues that we have arrived at, and their ongoing negotiations. They haven't been more to our favor, but again, we have to work together in the interests of the Tobago people.
Right.
So there are instances where we may feel we are being taken advantage of, but at the end of the day, the interest of the Tobagonian is paramount to us. So we have to take some licks sometimes, but that is the way forward. That should not be the standard practice. You know, it's working together, not working one on top of the other or something like that. And there are instances, especially in, I need to say it, where the relationship with WASA and works in terms of repairing roads that have been damaged for repairs by the Water and Sewage Authority. We need to have a better working relationship going forward.
Because I remember we had a conversation, we had a stakeholder, but we met with executives from WASA and so on at an executive level, and those questions were asked because that is a perennial problem. You understand? Your road smooth today, and then you leave, you go up in town, by the time you come back down in town, you realize it about pothole where you just pass smooth, that kind of thing.
That's where the acronym working against smooth asphalt came
And it looks like, I don't know, like as soon as you pave the road, like Piper's Bus, as soon as you pave the road, it looks like it's amazing. I mean, we know that there are aging infrastructure around the island. We know that as well. But Mr. Clark, the same question pretty much to you as Assistant Secretary, and and with direct responsibility for youth and sport and so on. How has that been for you? How have you been managing that?
Well, first I spent a little time, in the beginning trying to understand and appreciating the title, Assistant Secretary, and it says to my understanding to assist the Secretary. In this case, it probably is a first that Assistant Secretary has sort of been given responsibilities, to partially direct a particular area, and it always comes with its challenges, but I guess that's why you are there, is to conquer the challenges that you face. And I should say it's not a smooth ride. I think the main problem that we face across the island is one of productivity. And the task is might sound strange, but the task is actually to get workers in some instance. I mean, nothing is 100%.
Right.
There are people who there and apply themselves and really come out and do the work, but sadly, that's not the majority. So you have a challenge that it simply comes down to asking people to just do what you are being paid to do. You know, and I think if we could sort of streamline that, a way to have people to actually produce, then I think we'd be in a better position, because even the sport grounds, the size of the crew that's on the ground, you know, given, should they, let's just say they equip properly, and so, because in some cases they are not, they are equipped properly, they has the numbers that could really get the job done. So I think it's about taking an approach that you bring all the main players into the space, and sometimes that's the challenge in that is actually to, at times you have to read the right attack. You know, my daddy always tell me, for the time that he was around, that if you can't take back $1, don't give $1.
Okay.
If you can't say no, don't say yes.
Okay.
If you can't,
First time I hear that one.
if you can't fire, don't hire.
Okay. But I mean, first time I hear the one with the dollar.
Yeah, if you recognize that you give it in a wrong place, then you have a duty to, because you could stop destruction by taking it back.
Okay. You call that retrieval.
Right. You are a man of the cloth and the good books, you know, in many instances where men take back their word.
Yeah.
But it was for a cause.
Yeah, Sister Clam. So
So I think that's the main problem that faces us. But, you know, I think we made some strides, you know, in the positive. And I am very, you know, I'm very sort of been comforted by the fact that we are seeing a little light at the end of the tunnel. And, you know, we just completed a year.
yeah.
It was, to me, was a learning year. You never stop learning.
Right.
But, you know, in order to drive the car, you got to understand how the car works. So we were sort of understanding,
Right.
you know, for me, I was sort of understanding how the car works. You know, so I should say, you know, on the turn of the year, or every other day, you know, from tomorrow, I could go in with a different perspective and say, well, yes, I understand the car now, so I could turn the key and mash gas.
Right.
You know, so
We should drive better now.
very optimistic that we're going to see a difference in the sporting landscape. I'm very, you know, I have a positive outlook that things will get better. And in many instances, you know, I'm just prepared to do what has to be done to make that a reality.
Right.
And I must mention one thing with the sport. A very bitter taste for me in the sporting landscape is the absence of sort of financial lecturing to our young sportsmen who go out there, earn a lot compared to if they was here doing an average job. And by the time they finish and get back here, they left wanting.
Okay.
You know, and that's a very sour taste, because just the thought of it alone, to even the individual, it destroys him, and sometimes they never get a chance to reset to go again.
Okay.
So it's something that we will be looking to see how we can provide that kind of financial management assistance to our athletes, you know, to our sportsmen, because it's needed.
Right. I wanted to talk about, you know, we've been in lockdown, what, 2 years, you know, and we have Christmas this year. Everybody outside, every area representative is expected to do some kind of Christmas treat for the kids or something. Talk about the pressure. First of all, talk about how you manage that pressure, because people who have not, you know how we are as human beings. You've not been outside. We ain't had no Christmas party and thing for the children for 2 years. So every area representative is expected. You're expected to have a toy for everybody in the constituency. How you deal? Tell me a little bit. Let me talk to you Assistant Secretary George. How you making out with the Christmas party? Where are you now?
I'm thinking about the Christmas party is very daunting because you know there are going to be some disappointed kids.
Yes.
It's you want to give it to everyone, but you just can't.
Yes.
Especially coming out of the COVID period for such a long time. The major sponsors would be business people within the community, and they have been going through a very tough time as well.
Sure.
You know, you don't want to disappoint the kids, but the financial muscle and the backing is not what it would usually have been.
Right.
So to me, you just have to do what you could. You just have to do what you could. Some people would be disappointing, but there's always future times. And this is the first Christmas party I am having as a representative. And to me, it's a learning experience. And I think even from those that have done theirs before, there are ideas that could be brought forward and put forward to make it better going forward. You know, as Secretary Clark said, none of us here have been part of a THA executive before. So we are learning while we are on the job, but we have to learn fast.
Indeed.
Very, very quickly.
Indeed.
Because we are here to serve the needs of the people, and there are many needs out there. Many needs.
Yeah.
I mean, you just look at the rains that continue. Like every time I look up, I'm like, when will it end?
Yeah.
I mean, we need the rains, but the way that it is going, it's causing so much problems. And I even had to call Secretary James one Saturday morning to tell him, brother, you okay? He thought that I was actually calling him with a complaint. I just understand the situation that
every
he is inside.
Every time I say road, when I call him and say road, he's trying to change the conversation. Every time I say road.
Well, I try to have I approach life with, especially when it gets really serious, I try to get a laugh out of everything. So, you know, sometimes I mightn't pray as regular as you, but I say that when I see plenty rain,
yes,
I say I just pretend this was money. Clearly, if that was so, then we wouldn't have a problem. But with the Christmas party, you know,
yes.
I have been doing it for a while because, you know, I run an organization, the Lambo Youth Foundation, for about 13 years, and every Christmas the children look forward to something. So to me, it's just like the same duties that I've been performing before I got into politics. So in this case, it's just an extension. Politics just represents an extension of those duties.
Right.
So it just means that I got to prepare for a little more. The only thing that remains the same is that it comes out of the same pocket. But
it's true.
But you know, to me, the satisfaction you see on the children's face is my pain and frustration. You know, and you know, they come expecting, and as I say, in many instances, you could draw Spider-Man on a cardboard and get a child. You know, without an adult input, they will appreciate it. You know, so in many instances, you know, it's a pleasure for me to just be out there to do it. You know, you deal with the strain, but you know, the satisfaction takes away the strain.
And I mean, the point that you made about us having to put personal resource into, especially into this season, and you made an asset point as well, Niall, about business people who may normally want to support and so on, because everybody wants support to it. You understand?
Everybody.
And that is one of the things that I am very sensitive to. I know at my office they did some letters, but I really more discourage them than encourage them, in all honesty. You understand? Because I know that business people are under pressure themselves. Plus there are other agencies or other they would have had other type of commitment and from other institutions.
Just to butt in there, you know. As I say, I always like to look for a laugh out of even the most stressful situation. I remember I was doing a course one time in Trinidad. I was, you know, living over for a while. And I have this guy in San Fernando. You see him around the joint every day begging. He head always down and he hand out.
Yes.
And one day I stand there and watching him like this new guy come on the scene to beg too.
Yes.
And the two of them like that, nobody and looking up, and something for the pause, and the two of them, their hand put up.
Right.
And the guy who was there first
Yes.
raise up and tell him, man, go somewhere else and beg, don't come here.
Right.
Move from here. So, you know, even there, they're fighting for their tooth. To solicit kindness.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
the business people is under pressure. And to
Indeed,
be honest,
indeed.
I didn't even go to a business person
Yeah,
in my
yeah,
constituency.
yeah. Me neither.
You know,
Me neither.
but a couple of them actually call and say, you know, we're gonna donate something, and I was like, whatever.
Right.
You know,
right.
I don't think I should be able, or I should be making any demands on them,
Yeah.
because I think they suffer the hardest.
Indeed.
situation.
And I agree with you. I agree with you
And
100%.
even, you know, like to put together the hampers and that, for me, I try to cut it up in so much ways that you could get as much the small business people involved in the process that, you know, we always go to them.
Yes.
But I think we should always take every opportunity we could to raise them up. Because
Yes.
if they give you when they limping, if you raise them up, then I think it's just automatic you will get more.
Yes.
So, you know, I look at it that way, and I appreciate those who came forward and, you know,
Yes.
call out and to give, because there are some people, I must say that, you know, there are some people in your community that even if you think somebody not watching you, somebody always watching.
Indeed.
To interject as well, one of the things that I did in my community over this Christmas period is because we tend to focus on the young ones only. I had a senior citizen luncheon
Yes.
because if you don't know where you come from, you definitely don't know where you're going. And it brought me such joy to see these senior citizens come out in their numbers, having a good time, having a meal, sharing stories.
Right.
Some of them still have some wonderful moves at
Yes.
the age they possess, you know. So it's about sharing, and the reality is, although it's about the buggy and the pockets, I look at it from the point of view of as because of these people, I am able to have.
Right.
So it bothers me not to dip into it to
Yes.
share with my
Right,
community at all.
Right. I mean, I know we're almost down to the end of the program and so on. You know, I decided that I will do a toy drive rather than well, this is the first for me as well. This is first for me. Rather than having a Christmas hey! Now I don't stick it on. Yes. And I can't, anybody that's doing that, as a matter of fact, you can't drive through every street in your constituency. You gotta pass through the main thoroughfare and stuff, and people calling you, and some of them, you know, hope you pass it down by me and that kind of thing, you know. But we have to do what we can, you know, and again, I mean, I want to put it out there as well. Hey, some of you could be disappointed. You understand what I'm saying? You know, but we have to do what we can. And I think I am thankful that I was able to find the resource to do it.
Yes.
You understand? Even though, you know, the business people couldn't, and I don't want to say didn't, I said just couldn't. You understand? But I am thankful that I was able to find the resource. Because I think this investment is something you can't put a premium on that. Because of what the society has been through for the past 2 years, you understand? And I think the regardless of the pressure, regardless of the apprehensions and so on, that we need to do this. I mean,
I think that sometimes, you know, with the older folks, the senior folks, in many instances, it's like you're approaching $1 million here with $1. They don't want anything really. All they want is a little appreciation. So, you know, sometimes you have one set of people that the financial resources might be important in this aspect, and you have another set who is just your time and appreciation, you know, your presence.
yes.
And, you know, sometimes I think that has been the touching moment for me, because, you know, I remember there was one particular senior citizen who keeps sending messages for me. I said, but I fix the road by you. You know, I get the road organized. What I could want. So I just take up and drive down. And you know, she was saying, I just want to see you. You know?
Yes,
and
yes.
for me, it was like, you know, sometimes it don't take much to make someone happy. So I think this is a lesson. The lesson goes bigger for me than, you know, representation sometimes is more than doing things or getting things done. Sometimes it's just being present, just showing up.
Right.
Because, you know, different people appreciate different things.
Indeed.
And I think we just at times, you know, we all need to make time. It's very difficult sometimes to make time. But you know what? You have to learn to balance the responsibilities and the duties. You know, it's like saying, you know, they used to tell you too much work and no play.
Yes.
Make Jack a dull boy. And I still asking, too much play and no work make Jack a broke boy. So you have to find, find that balance.
Yes. A little work and a little play.
Yeah, you had to balance it. And I think that, you know,
Indeed.
I always sit down and think about these things because saying everything I do,
Yes.
I look for some reason to laugh.
Right.
You know, and
yes.
I learn over the times that, you know, sometimes some people just, all that is required of you is just to show up. They appreciate that.
Indeed. And I agree. I mean, and I think all of us have that experience when we're doing, you know, we're doing stuff that a request may have come for this, and then you're still wondering, well, why they still calling her, you understand? And a lot of times these are older people for the most part, you know, that express these sentiments and stuff. Gentlemen, final thoughts on your, I mean, none of us have a crystal ball, but your projections for, I mean, for the new season coming, the new year. We are facing a barrage of criticisms from all sides. We are under the gun, as it were, by our political opponents. We are under the gun from some of the persons that we deem to be our supporters and friends. We are under the gun from the Tobago chamber. We are everybody is aiming their guns at the administration and so on. What are your thoughts? What are your expectations for the coming season?
Well, I would say that the gun would always be pointing. We have a society of different sectors of people who have different needs, different desires, and sometimes their desire mightn't be in line with what is even good for them. You know, we say that certain things are not good for you. You try to reduce violence in the society, do all kind of things, all kind of crime plan. But yet, if you're watching the box office, unless a pity get fighting and killing, you don't get to number one in most instances. So, you know, it's like, we sort of gotta like be the doctors. Administer what you know is good for the society as a whole, and sometimes stop listening to the noises of what the society wants. Because sometimes, even with, you know, parent to children, sometimes you ever experience being around your parents and they're giving you medicine, it tastes good, but you had to drink it. And sometimes you cork your nose, you put a little sugar in your mouth, but you know what? Because of the authority they have over you have to take it. And in many instances, we could recall principals, teachers being a little rough with us, and as you grow to be a man, you wish you could find them if they're not there, if they're still around. You could find them to tell them thanks, because you know what? I didn't like it, but it was good. So in some instances, I think we have to let our conscience and what we know is right. You know, I live by a sort of principle saying that once you know that you're not wrong, everything is all right. So, you know, we got to find a way to let people understand, and you just got to do what you got to do, because don't care what you did, there would always be dissatisfied people in this space. But we just got to keep on persevering, doing what we know to be the right and honest thing.
Well, me personally, I don't take criticism as a bad thing. There's some lesson to be learned from criticism. there's also a difference between criticism and noise. We, in our society now, people use criticism forms of media to try to get their gain, pressure you into making a decision in their favor.
Yes.
We have to, if at this point, when you're in leadership, you cannot cipher out noise from criticism, then you're in the wrong business. And I listen to the criticism. Obviously, some of it would be true. You then have to reflect as a leader and say, well, hey, I need to do better here. You know, I could give an example, because I would have been someone that would have been on the ground constantly. I now have a portfolio, you know, and I would use the 6-6 as an example with that. When we were locked out,
Right.
pretty much.
Right.
So we had all the time in the world.
Yeah.
So most naturally we would have been on the ground more, because that's what we had. That's the only thing we had
Right.
on our plate. And now we have been charged with fixing Tobago. You know, came in, it's a mess. I myself got consumed with division work. As again, it's new, not getting the correct balance. And with reflection and some criticism, you realize, hey, you need to improve on that. So there's merit in criticism. We just can't treat it as the noise all around. We have to cipher out the situation, look at what we have been failing at, and improve it. Yeah. And there's a lot of work to be done, Bishop Baines, and we need to not treat all criticism as negativity.
If to just drop in one here, you know, a couple of weeks ago, a guy came to the office, and this just to show you sometimes when things happen, you realize you might have know something wrong, but this particular instant make you realize how far people really are from the reality of the situation and how far they are from being mindful of their duties. One guy came into the office at the end and was saying that this particular ground need to cut the condition of the ground. And I tell him, but wait, I come there that morning and you walk in there. Is you supposed to cut it? And he just said, oh, and he come out. So, you know, sometimes people so accustomed to making noise. Sometimes they don't even know, or they don't even realize that, you know, is I really supposed to do this? You know, and that was a lesson for me to show me how far some people really, you know, how far they are from the reality of the situation and what the duty is supposed to be. But, you know, I believe that if we put our heads together, I think we could get the job done. You know, be honest, be realistic, and forge ahead. I think we could get the job done. I don't think there's nothing that could stop us if we work together.
Indeed.
To also add to that, Bishop, I think that our slogan has been misunderstood as well. This level we fix it. We never said we'd fix it all at one time. We never said we'd fix it immediately. Some of the problems that we face will take more than one term.
And to add to that, we can't fix it alone.
And you know, as you say that now, we almost there. As you say that now, I wonder if we actually sell a particular dream, we sell a expectation to the Tobago people. I ask myself that all the time. The recipients of this sell, if it was too dynamic, if it was too, in other words, the expectation timeline for this dream to become a reality in the minds of like we in 1 year, and we certainly did not expect some of the kind of criticisms and things that we face. But here the next point too, as you said that, and I appreciate and agree with you. But the human side of you know, there are some people now that will say stuff that don't bother you. They could say that some of the most negative now don't bother, but it has some people that you don't expect some things from, and that has a personal pinch. You see, and I think I have seen some of that in the space as well. And you have to manage it because you can't go home and cry. You don't do the work.
You could go home and cry. Just come back to do the work tomorrow. Nothing is wrong in crying.
Yeah.
Big man does cry.
Yeah.
But
You know?
but Bishop Bates, here's how I look at that. Even in life, the most hurtful things come from those who you trust and care about.
Yeah.
So the reality is, not because we're in leadership, I expect anything different. You know, there's a reason why we are here.
Yes.
If it was a job for anyone to do, then just about anyone would take the job.
Right.
It borders on putting you into mental health problems. But we have to
Well,
show a
it's
brave
to
face.
recommend that all of us see,
Yes,
see a
he did.
shrink.
You know, because I mean that's the level of the job that we have.
Yes.
And if we are leadership and we cover, then the population covers.
Yes.
So we have to take our criticisms, have our terrible days, enjoy the good ones, you know, and I'm pleading to the Tobago populace. The executive cannot do it alone. We asked for change, we changed the executive, the mindset and the attitude also has to change.
Indeed.
You know, not because you see the government distributing something means that you have to get. They are the most vulnerable in this society. Please allow those
Yes.
people
Yes.
to access the things. There are people that aren't in that position, but just believe that because they may have supported something, they deserve to get it. I am not of that mindset. I believe that those who are most vulnerable are the ones that should be allowed
Yeah.
to do the thing. And,
Yes.
and we need to change the mentality of this Tobago space where we are working together for the benefit of the island. You know, and that's where I truly believe we should be.
Right. Well,
So before we go, you know,
yes.
we had a play when I was going to school,
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Question. Okay.
we had a play when we was going to school, and whilst we going down, everybody who wanna be this star boy, because you know, long time in all pictures and thing, you have a crush on this star boy.
Yeah.
But he had a role now for a man to be in the coffin. Everybody, no, me ain't playing that dead man at all. Nobody don't want to lie down.
Right. I hear you. That's true. So our director is letting us know that there is a question. I'm trying to figure out which question.
It's on the TV, it's on the screen. What's it?
Okay. So the question is, what is the issue with the open area, the tennis court? I guess that
that's
is
for
down
me.
in Shop Park. What is taking so long to fix the covered drain? And the person asks if they need assistance. Mr. Clark?
Well, surely we could always do with assistance, but the problem with the open area you see there is that, you know, going under the road, because the drain comes from up the side of the tennis court going across the road, we actually thought there was a blockage there. So we had to get our backhoe and take up all the slabs. And we actually thought that there was a drain below the road, when really that volume of water coming down there, what they have is a sort of a 12-inch pipe.
Wow.
And that,
So it's too small to take the volume of water.
in some instances, and the drain that this water runs into across by Nip Deck there, the sides actually fall in.
Okay.
So it's stopping the flow right through. But, you know, we to get a tractor to go there to get it out and just clear the passage until we could actually put a concrete drain. So, Mr. Fraser, you're welcome to reach out to me and help. You seem like you have some resources at your disposal.
Yes.
So I will welcome your resources.
Yes, man. All right. Is there any as Ian Allen said, Director, is there any other question?
Okay, so we are about to leave.
Yes.
Right? So from myself to the District of Lambo Lowlands, you know, I want to thank you for the confidence you place in me, and I'm going to continue to work with you to see how even in making Tobago the greatest little island on the planet, that we could make Lambo Lowlands the greatest little district on that great little island. So thank you, and I'll look forward to working with you in the new year.
Yes, sir.
Happy New Year and Merry Christmas, and may we grow in communication, may we grow as a community, may we grow as an island, and may we grow in honesty one towards the other. Merry Christmas and a bright and prosperous New Year to Tobago.
Mr. George.
Well, I'd like to take this opportunity to wish the residents of Plymouth Blackrock season's greetings and a bright and prosperous 2023. I'd like us to continue to forge this relationship going forward, and I'm here to serve at all times.
Yes, yes. Well, as well, tomorrow I'm going to attempt the mammoth task.
Put on a dark shade so you won't see nobody.
I drive through in the district that we call Bethel New Grange, which includes Sherwood Park and Riseland and St. Luke and Riseland Trace and Canby on the left side going west, all the way down to Buku, parts of Buku Road, Susulands, Bethel, Hoopton. God has to help me tomorrow. You understand? And I really want to wish the residents perhaps one of the greatest seasons ever in the light of all that has happened. And I am thankful for the confidence that you reposed in me to serve in the capacity as your area representative. And we do our best. We continue to do what we can. We know there's a lot of work to be done. Unfortunately, infrastructurally in Bethel New Grange, still we have some flooding issues still and all these kinds of things.
Right?
And we are going to work to the best of our ability so we can bring some ease to all. So it is my hope that you have one of the best of seasons, and I anticipate that the coming year will be one where we have brighter things happening. You are going to get, let me say, you are going to get the walk around track early in the year. We've had some issues with that. You know, we've had some setbacks, but we are pushing ahead to get that as early as possible. And to all our viewers tonight, we want to thank you for spending some time with us. And I on behalf of the executive, on behalf of these two gentlemen that made the conversation very, very interesting and very informative at that, we are thankful for this opportunity. It's been another edition of Full Disclosure here on Tobago Updates. It is our intention to be back with you again next week, God's willing, and we trust that you will join us there. You can and should share this live, perhaps even after you come off here. You should share it with a friend. Maybe there is some information that can assist them. God bless you. On behalf of all of us, we say good night.